Constantly shifting through the time-space continuum, Metron's three disciples observe the universe from the Mobius Couch.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, like we said last week, we had to split this episode up. So this is part 2 of Outsiders, part two.
Part two. Let's do it, you guys.
Part 2. All right, let's get into this. It's if the conversation abruptly cuts in, we apologize. Like even what's the brain guy's name?
Simon.
Later,
Monsieur Malone.
Simon. Yeah, Simon.
Simon. Yeah, Simon.
Yeah, that's the one.
I want to make a note about Monsieur Malone. I don't know. I feel like this is an 80s thing where kids like would put on their dad's tie around their head like it was a karate headband or something. Yeah. That's what Monsieur Malone has over his head. Yeah, it looks like his father's tie.
He's wearing a Hawkeye costume from Avengers Forever.
It's
with a bandana tied around his head.
It's just also, I mean, I love Grace. Like we've mentioned this, total babe. Is it professional to just wear a towel and be naked, like around work, like coworkers?
I mean, I think it's just like, you know, like the team, you know, like they get back to headquarters, you know, they've been in a fight. It's like a locker room, you know, like you just get back and you're just like, let's towel off.
I guess it seems a little maybe inappropriate for work, but also she's sleeping with coworkers, which is also, I guess, appropriate for outsiders.
I literally wrote, my only note on that is Grace and Roy fucking the Pequod. Interesting. Everyone else rides in that ship. Gross.
I mean, it'd be more interesting if Dick and Roy fucked in that, if you know what I mean. I'd be more interested in that than Grace and Roy. That seems kind of old hat. Right, but so they find out that Brother Blood is behind it by just they just like shuffled through pictures and figured out Brother Blood is next on that list. I think Patrick mentioned the logic behind that was just magic. Like we're there.
It reminded me of that South Park episode when they make fun of like Jeff Goldblum from Independence Day when he's like, wait a minute, Snickers bar, beer is like he just gets to the fucking solution with like just the most random logic.
So the team's frustrated with taking down small fries, so to speak, and they're like, Roy, let's move on to a big shark. And I'm like, those analogies don't track, but okay. And then the mysterious informant only see his mouth and he's bathed in shadows. We have no idea who he is, but he tells Roy to look at the
he looks exactly like Batman.
No.
I mean, other than that.
Don't be ridiculous.
Look at these panels of Roy talking to him and just like think of how stupid Roy is. Like, look how
he's
cool
a
and like sneaky Roy's being.
He's a moron.
And it's
I like how it says 4 hours later. Like basically, like Grace is like, "Hey, you want to go fuck?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure." And it's like 4 hours later. And I was like, 4 hours.
Well, the better part is like, what if the informant didn't even mean Brother Blood? Like Roy just randomly picked. It was like not even what was going on. Roy was just
he said, "Who do you think's involved?" And then Roy goes, "Oh my god!" And I'm like,
"This is some QAnon shit." I think.
Why? Where's the connect? The connection to what they were currently doing with all the small fries, so to speak, doesn't ever be. It's never explained, and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever as to why Roy thought Brother Blood and like.
But that's what I mean. I think Deathstroke Batman is kind of like QAnoning him of like on these message boards of like, oh yeah, that's right. That's who's behind it. Go for it. But, you know, you're
Brother Blood sounds good. Yeah. I think it was him.
There was probably some bullshit Teen Titans storyline from like decades ago where Brother Blood was on the same like Sinister Six type team with them. Or there has to be some DC.
Maybe
bullshit,
there's a deep cut DC thing.
Yeah, but I think it's so deep cut that it doesn't make.
If that is true, and it's a big if, but if that is true. And that's the connection you need to have as a reader. Like you need to have been reading Titans for like decades to be like, let me piece this together. Not well written.
No, not at all.
I mean, they should have at least dropped something like Roy in a thought bubble saying, "Oh right, Brother Blood worked with." X, Y, and
That's
Z
all it
to
would
do
take.
that."
Because if it is something like that from from deep cut DC Universe, continuity. If Roy just in his head was like, wait a minute, that guy was friends with this guy, and this guy was friends with that guy, and they were all on a team once, and we fought them as the Titans, and that's Brother Blood. Oh my God, that's all you need.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so they go to the Blood Monastery, or no, Blood is like a lobotomized non-Brother Blood monk at a monastery or something, and so they go.
But really, it's his cult.
Yeah.
Who was keeping track of that?
No shit. Like classic superheroes. They defeat Brother fucking Blood of the Church
and they're
of
like,
Blood.
well, he's pretty messed up. Let's just let him live his life out in the monastery
and
and never keep track of it.
That's it. What could go wrong?
It's like, we can't kill him. So if we can't kill him, we got to give him this perfect idyllic life in this very secluded mountainside.
Yeah, these are also
there's a middle ground. There's probably a middle ground where you could put him in jail or something, maybe.
These are also the same people who were shooting gorillas in the chest point blank, but Brother Blood needs to live.
Throwing gorillas into the water after that, being like, oh yeah.
It was a bluff.
I mean, that was a crazy scene. We're backtracking, but Indigo's like...
Also, is it true? Is it biologically true that gorillas can't swim? Could they really not swim?
Maybe.
Oh, I don't know. I
mean, Indigo said it, and she's like ChatGPT, so
you know what?
You gotta believe it.
Okay.
You know what I really don't like about Chriscross's art? I don't think he draws. He really phones in Metamorpho Rex / Shift, whatever we want to call him right now.
Whatever Tom Raney.
His face is just wrinkly. Like it doesn't look. He's too cartoony looking, and then so all the detail is lost. Like Tom Raney, like really adds in a lot of those like lumps and details into his body, and like the swirling of the colors. There's a lot of panels where Rex is just gray and like lines are shooting out of his hand, and it doesn't even look like anything. It's
should we
not well done.
Should we mention that the dude's name is Chriscross?
No, I mean that's just his artist name, man.
No, but I mean
it's
we're just going,
Prince is the only one allowed to go by one name.
Name's Chriscross. That's all.
Yeah, that's okay.
Crisscross will make you.
He's a really big fan of Chriscross. That is an excellent question. I wonder where he got that artist.
Okay, so let's go back. So the thing blows up. The monastery blows up because Brother Blood was evil the whole time, and he blows.
So we're moving into issue 5. We're moving into issue 5.
Hold on, real quick.
Wait, I want to talk about Brother Dennis. I want to talk about Brother Dennis in this.
Real quick. All right, fine. But real quick, when it does blow up, they go downstairs and they find like a villain lair installation that's like James Bond level, like huge open caverns. They even say like there's elevators, we can't see how deep it goes. There's giant statues, there's screens everywhere. Like it's like this is the main base, but it's completely empty. And then Brother Blood, the next panel is literally like Indigo's like, hey, I think everyone's leaving. And then the next panel is literally got just a shitload of SUVs driving away from the monastery, which already is funny. Because, like, why do these monks have, like, 17 SUVs? And then, so they're all driving away really fast. And Roy's like, get out of there, it's gonna blow up. And then it literally explodes. This entire installation that they built into this monastery, blown to hell. just like, oh, fuck, we gotta go. 3 random superheroes showed up. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane. It's insane.
The thing with all of that is that they're talking about it later, and Brother Blood said all that equipment only cost $18 million. Not in this market today.
No, but this was 2004. Like 2004 money. Yeah, 2003 money.
God damn, 18 million got you a lot back then.
Yeah, but I mean, with inflation today, that's probably like $38 billion or something at this point.
I wonder what $18 million times 20 years is.
It's probably a lot.
So what did you want to talk about? Brother Dennis?
I don't even know anymore. Like what
does he have the Dennis
helmet? What skull helmet does Brother Blood? He has like a Marowak Pokemon skull helmet. What is that? Is that a saber-toothed tiger? Where do you get that saber-toothed tiger skull?
I mean, he has 18 million to just blow up. So
I mean, it's probably not. I don't think it's a real skull. I think he just like made something that he thought looked cool.
What is Brother Blood? You guys know more lore than I do. He just like drinks blood? Isn't it like does he
I
does
think
he like
he's just-
subsume other people? And what is
No,
his thing?
I think the brother blood that's introduced right after him, his son that kills him and shows him
He,
Titans,
he's
is the
a
first
vampire,
one.
right?
Well, he's the first one though, I think, that has any type of like metahuman powers. I think before this,
It's
he's
just a blood cult,
literally-
Like it's how they stay immortal, They
Oh,
just drink
so it's
blood
like
of
the
infants.
Obama. It's like the Obamas and the Clintons who drink adrenochrome out of kids,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Like under the pizza parlors. It's that kind of thing. All right.
Mhm.
But
Or
yeah,
like
but
In this case, it was a
doctors got blood.
monastery, but yeah, the monastery did sell pizzas, so that tracks.
On the cover of issue 5.
But the brother blood kid he is a vampire, right?
Yeah, I think they were like, we got to make this more interesting. So
I mean, I don't think he's like
Okay.
he's like a straight up vampire.
Well, he
he
would,
doesn't
like,
have
bite.
fangs.
You
Does he?
bite
He does
people, though,
have
and
fangs,
get
I
their
think.
blood.
I don't think he's
Really?
a vampire where like he's like, I don't think he's a traditional vampire, but I think
But he literally bites into your neck and drinks your blood.
yeah, because he gets
in
like
the Teen
Superboy's-
Titans, he would bite them. Yeah.
Yeah, he bites.
I don't really remember him in the. I mean, I remember him in the Teen Titans to the extent that Al mentioned earlier that he was more formidable and scary and actually a cool villain.
Yeah.
But like as compared to this, but like I don't really remember what he was doing or why I felt that way.
I'm pretty sure he bites Superboy and drinks Superboy's blood, and he becomes super strong like during the fight or whatever. Like he can adapt. Like some of your like he didn't get heat vision or anything like that, or could fly, but he was like super strong for a minute.
But then he turned into a bat because he bit Beast Boy.
But I think he shows up way later after like during Infinite Crisis, and I think at that point they even power him up even more, where he's like almost
Really?
like a dark fucking wizard or something.
He's another one that you don't really see much of anymore. I'm sure he's due for a comeback.
Yeah.
The blood.
All right. So moving on, they again through some nonsense thing find out, or no, because Indigo hacked Brother Blood.
Indigo was downloading files as it exploded.
Files.
Basically. So
So
she
she
got
was
like.
his plan is Meritamon or whatever.
Meritamon.
I love that Brother
Meritamon.
Blood is discussing this with his underlings, and he's like, "Well, how much did she get?" And they're like 80%, like basically all of it. And he's like, "Well, fuck." Basically, he's like, "Well, shit, that's all of it. We got to blow everything up." Like,
Well, no,
it's
that's
so-
what I mean. I
the
liked
conversation he has is so funny. And
Yeah,
then
no,
later
I
on,
love the dialogue he has with his little underlings is pretty great, and he's just like, "God damn, back in my day, we'd use paper, and you could just burn it, and you're done." And
That's
now-
Brother Dennis right there. What is troubling you, Brother Dennis? The android girl, sir. She downloaded all of our shit.
That's not what he says, is it?
Basically, I was monitoring our systems in the temple when it blew up. Yes. I detected that she uploaded a number of our files from the computer. Well, how great a number? A figure about 80%. Damn it. Brother Blood literally goes,
Well, the best is he
Damn
goes,
it.
but then he follows it up with like, "But you're going to tell me they're dead, right?" And he's like,
He's
"Well,
like,
actually,
"Probably
they're
not."
probably alive." And he's like, "Well, fuck." And then at the end, he goes, "Well, do you have any idea how much they learned?" And he goes, "Well, I have a few educated guesses." And he just goes, "Delightful."
Yeah, also Brother Blood at that point throws open doors that are like 70 feet tall. like they're air. It's weird. I don't even know where they
Well,
are.
he's very, he's almost, I mean, he's kind of Lex-like, and he's just kind of this like aloof,
Yeah, he's like
and
and
talks down to
giant,
people, kinda,
enormous Lord of the Rings sized doors fly open in whatever underground catacomb that he has, which is one of many apparently.
But our team of heroes finds out that he has some plan to use radio transmissions and a secret word to set off sleeper agents.
Yeah.
And
And
so
he
they
has
go
1
find
million
them.
of them, and they're
He has
all
1
going to
million.
steal a baby.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The plan
Let's
is
talk-
to steal babies.
Okay, and that's terrifying because if you think
It's
about
terrifying,
it,
but
It's
also
not
his
terrifying.
plan is
Their
to
plan
indoctrinate.
to steal babies.
think
His
about
plan
how
is to
many of them-
indoctrinate 1 million babies.
Is that what the plan?
So
is?
his plan will come to fruition 20 years ish from now.
It's
Okay,
so
I was gonna
It's
ask. I was like,
so-
what were they gonna do after they got the
fucking
babies?
insane.
it's so dumb.
All 1 million of his sleeper agents all have fake like uniforms and credentials to get into like hospitals so they can legitimately like enter the building and then steal one baby apiece. This whole idea is fucking insane. Like,
But
it's
was this? Well, wait a
insane.
minute. Though.
Also,
Is this,
there's
wait a minute.
All right.
Is this? Did he have this plan in place before? He must have, right? If he had gotten away with it, if they had never found out this was his plan, that means he would have eventually had 1 million kids kidnapped all at the same time, stowed away somewhere. In 20 years, he's got an army of 1 million,
1 million
right?
kids.
But it's also so the Earth has 8 billion people.
That's
Do you know
true,
what percent of 8 billion 1 million is?
I mean, I don't know if you have a cult like
it's 1/10%.
It's not a bad move
do?
to get a million new followers in one go.
It's 1/10%. What is that going to do anywhere?
I mean, I guess if you train all those people and have them infiltrate different governments and have them just like all on the same page. But I get your point. He's not going to take over a country or anything.
Real quick.
What is he going to do?
Real quick flaw in his plan. And let me just throw this out to you guys.
You're going to limit it to one flaw.
One flaw in his plan.
All right.
Let me just throw this out to you guys. Say you have 1 million agents, right? And you're going to have one of those, every single one of them steal one baby. That gets you 2 million agents. What if all 1 million of your agents stole 2 babies?
Children? Who's got time?
Then you would essentially triple your followers.
You can't have the plan can't be every 20 years
maybe
children.
Each one of your 1 million followers was to get more than just one other follower.
No.
This plan might
succeed. That can't be the plan.
In the long run.
The rate at which global warming is destroying our world, you don't have 20 years to do this.
Yeah, he does obviously because
he did back then.
This is 2003.
Okay, but you got to but then you got to do the next 20 for the
next. Oh my gosh, if this plan had worked right now, we'd be seeing Brother Blood's plan come to fruition.
What if Ron DeSantis was a kidnapped baby 20 years ago? What if this is the plan?
This is the plan. Yeah, you're right. That's it. That's the one.
It would have been hilarious if after they blew up the because just going how if the outsiders hadn't figured this out and he was never stopped, like that could have been a legit problem 20 years from now. And if it was like Brother Blood being like, how did they figure out it was me? How did they piece together that those villains were related to me? It's like, I
don't know.
Speedy.
I honestly don't know. None of us do. Because Winick didn't tell us.
That would be great if he's like, well, how did you catch me? And Roy's like, oh, well, we caught Grodd and Monsieur Mallah. And Brothers like, what the fuck? What does that have to do with me?
I do like how Chriscross draws Grace. Like, she's a little more Amazonian in stature. I think she looks a little better than Tom Raney.
I mean, look, Grace
only a little bit.
She always looks great.
So the team splits up and goes after only a tiny. So they have 1 million sleeper agents, and I guess they only have
they go after 5
names.
of them.
They go after like 5 of them.
They go after like 4.
There's a weird takeaway when Metamorpho and Nightwing are like find one of them, and he like basically roofies her, I suppose, then, with endorphins.
No, he does like truth serum.
Nightwing literally says that must come in handy elsewhere, and he goes, "Dude,
oh yeah, yeah,
what?
That's a rape joke."
The fuck?
That's a rape joke. Yeah.
I don't know if it's rape, but I think it's just like, get the chick high.
Yeah, it's fucked up. It's basically like, hey, you could roofie someone, and Metamorpho's like, you have no idea, bro.
Yeah, there's no good way to say that.
It's a horrible. They made a rape joke. I think that there's no other way to. Yeah, it's fucked up.
I mean, I think it's more like about pleasure when you've already begun the act, I think is what Nightwing's referring to.
I hope that it's about once you've established consent, it's about pleasure.
Yeah.
I hope that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that woman is...
That's what, I mean, you know, there's 2 ways to look at it. One's very dark. One is optimistic. I choose optimism. They're superheroes, guys.
We just saw them shoot an endangered species.
Not Nightwing and Rex.
All right, I just want to rewind 1 minute.
Yeah.
They found out that Brother Blood has 1 million sleeper agents, and their solution is, one by one. Let's go after them.
Well, they don't know what they want yet, right?
No, they don't.
I think she only got 8 pulled off the server, and only 4 of them lived in the United States.
Yeah,
so
they're like, so they only have like 8 names. So they only know 8. They're trying to figure out the plan. They're not like trying to stop every sleeper agent. They're trying to
It's just still
go after the
all of
ones that
this
they
is
know
so
and
dumb.
figure out what the bigger plan is so they can stop it from happening. It's not about like them saving all million sleeper agents.
Look at this panel. Nightwing's like accosting this woman physically.
He's like, "Tell me what you know," and then
growling in her face.
and then he's like, "Let me just
Yeah.
let me just gas her. You know, that'll be fine."
Oh, I don't like any of this. Yeah, and then they take over a Mexico. There's some kind of like satellite.
There's some
dish
sort of
central in Mexico
satellite
they
dish
go
hub
to.
there, and then here's the weird thing: Metamorpho is also on that team, which I thought was weird. So he's in 2 places at once.
Metamorpho has uses of powers to change into a human-looking like manager of the plant.
Yeah,
and
but he can't do hair apparently.
He has a
well,
wig.
He
Yeah, he has
wig
a
on.
wig.
He can turn any part of his body into any element, as well as much as also making him look like he has skin, which he definitely doesn't. But he can't do hair, so he has to wear a
Can't do
wig.
hair.
He can do a mustache, just not head hair.
Yeah, he can do. Well, that could be fake. We don't know that. He might have been like, "Whoop!" right afterwards.
But he
pulled
can't
it
do
off.
hair.
I don't know.
This is so dumb. Jade. Another thing about just the horniness of it. The back of Jade's costume is nothing.
Yeah,
It is.
that's
It's just
again,
the
that's a little
absence
crisscross
of-
drawing, though. I think he accentuates that a little bit. You know what I mean?
That is ridiculous, though. I mean, it goes all the way down to the very top of her ass crack.
Yeah.
Barely.
I mean, imagine not that.
Imagine the tailoring to get your costume to just kiss the top of your ass crack, but
No,
not show it.
I was going to go somewhere else with it. I mean, just imagine, not that women were reading these comics for clear reasons, but like, imagine if you were like a girl who was like, I'm in 2003 and want to get into comics. Like, this is what you get.
I hope you
It's
can
just
wear
like
that costume pulled off,
hypersexualized.
you know?
I mean, I guess the dudes are all super hot too. I don't know. I guess it's.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, like,
it's
it's different from Nightwing wearing head to toe tights. Have you put on head to toe tights?
It'd
You
be
don't look
awesome if it'd be great if in a scene Nightwing's back is just fully bare, like his costume, just down to his ass crack.
And a little diamond cut out for his belly button.
Yeah, and he
that's
has
it.
a little diamond cut out on his belly, and that's Nightwing's costume. That would be great.
Oh man.
Okay. Oh, but we do get Roy gets shot now
Yeah.
too. Is a big
Roy,
So, I
Roy
kinda-
being Roy.
Is it that bad though? What did he do wrong?
He gets shot.
Just lets the guy shoot him in the fucking chest. He just stands
Well,
there like-
let's is how do you not let a guy shoot you?
Because the next issue, Green Arrow is like, Roy's reflexes are so fucking amazing. There's
Yeah,
no
that's
way
not-
he would've got
I
shot."
wa- I
Because
wanted-
he didn't know the sleeper had been activated, so he wasn't on like
But
guard.
still,
so to speak.
if you're like that, like I feel like that wouldn't have happened to Nightwing. You know what I mean?
I feel like
Oh,
Nightwing
for sure
also
not.
would have. I feel like if someone put a gun to Nightwing's chest, Nightwing also
He'd still
could
somehow
not
grab the gun and
physically-
move it away fast. It would go off past his head, and he'd be like, punch you in the face. You're
That's
done.
guys. That is not how guns work. That's
Also,
not how guns work. There's no-
Roy,
you can't
it's
dodge-
so funny because there's a gun right against his chest, right? And then Roy like leaps backwards after he sees it. And instead of trying to like disarm the guy, his immediate response is to his hand blurs at like light speed to grab
His gun.
his gun
Yeah.
to shoot the guy instead of just if your reflexes are so fast that you can leap backwards off a gun that's nuzzled against your chest and then you have time to then move your hand all the way to your jacket pocket where you almost pull out your weapon. Wouldn't it just be smarter to punch the guy in the face and dismantle the gun out of his hands?
Yeah. Also, you would in real life, you would just be shot. You
Well,
can't.
Well, he is a superhero, so
You
he
would just
did
be
jump
shot.
backwards fast enough.
Also,
move
and yeah,
as
and I
well.
know that Green Arrow later makes that point of like his reflexes, he should have dodged it. I wish I'd been there to just say like, Ollie, what the fuck are you talking about? A human can't dodge a bullet, Ollie. Like that's not
unless you're Boris the Bullet Dodger, you know.
it's not real. Green Arrow, nobody could have done that.
Ollie infuriated me once. I don't remember what comic it was, but he's comparing, I think, a villain. I don't know if it's Merlin, and he's like, Merlin is as good as Speedy or Connor, and he goes, heck, he may even be as good as Roy or something like that. And he like put Roy like way above Connor. And I was like, Roy, fuck, like to Al's point,
Roy is not as good as Connor.
Yeah, no.
No.
Anyway.
All right, time out. Here, I want to read this. Roy could shoot the eye out of a bird in flight while he was falling off a building. He wouldn't get shot, not with his reflexes. First of all, that's a non sequitur. Like being able to shoot something with accuracy has nothing to do with dodging a bullet.
Also, I mean, that sleeper agent he knew what he was doing. He was like, there was 3 people, and Jade is even like, I've got 3 heat signatures. They're running in this direction. And then he's like, go. And he sends Jade away. A really, really tricky sleeper agent. Good job, sleeper agent. He's the scariest villain in this book so far.
Yeah. Issue 6, was it always part of the plan for why is Brother Blood at the slab? Is he just doing a recruitment drive? Like what? Was that always part of his plan?
I don't understand what.
I think his reasoning is let's take this over as like a base of operations, and we're going to be besieged. So then we'll have all these cannon fodder idiot villains to shove at them. Gotcha. So there's that, and number 2, it has the satellite relay he needs or whatever to like set off his shit. But the key, all of those things are ludicrous when juxtaposed against the idea that he has gajillion dollars to build underground installations under a monastery. So none of this makes any sense. It makes sense in the context of what he explains, but like if you put that next to the fact that he can build all these underground installations and bases all over the world, why the fuck do you need the slab? Why don't you just build your own slab in Antarctica? Like, just buy the blueprints and build your own thing.
Because it's an excuse to have villains involved. You know, you can have whatever King Shark and.
It was also an excuse to have the outsiders, quote unquote, fuck up by letting the villains escape and saving the millions of babies or whatever. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
We are in issue number 6.
They're storming.
They're storming the slab. Or they're in the slab. We haven't touched on this at all, but the issue titles are funny in and of themselves because it's like so many words, and in one way it's helpful because like it helps you keep track of everything. But like literally the first storyline is called Roll Call, but then it's like, so for each issue is Roll Call, but then part 1, part 2, part 3, then colon. And then they all have their own titles. So it's like Roll Call Part 1, colon, blah, blah, blah. And then the second 3 issues is the same thing. It's Brothers in Blood, Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. And then he just titles them, but it's so funny. At every intro of the comic happens, it's like, Roll Call Part 1, blah, 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 blah. And you're like, what are all these fucking, just call it Small Potatoes. Like, just call it Finders Sleepers or whatever. You know, like why are we calling it these obnoxiously long titles? It's so funny. Anyway, Brothers in Blood Part 3, Pandora's Box. Pandora's Box, sorry.
Yeah, it's just one of those like it's those standard climactic issues where there's a lot of fighting going on and not a lot of sense. It kind of reminds me of, we just did the Avengers Forever thing where like the last 8 issues were just a nonsense.
Just them fighting. I don't know. Do you get that out of this? I don't have that so much. They're just
flipping around fighting people. Yeah, there's no real rhyme or reason to anything.
Yeah, it is just the big action kind of climax. It's not as redundant. It doesn't go on as long as Avengers Forever, but
I think that's the key there.
Right. I mean, like it's much shorter, but it's that kind of thing.
You've got like Simon realizing chaos. That his little inhibitor band isn't working as well, so he can tell that Brother Blood's lying. So like that's kind of ties into the end. And then you have, I don't know, Ollie and Connor coming in and being like, Roy's hurt and it's all your fault. And he never really blames anyone, but he keeps saying it's someone else's fault, not Roy's.
I think
Because
he's
it's
implying
impossible that it could be
Jade's-
Roy's fault.
I think he's implying it's Jade's fault because she was supposed to be magically saving
Yeah,
Roy
but he
somehow.
kind of like, but he says the same thing to Nightwing later in a different way, like as if like the whole team's at fault and it's not Roy. Anyways, he's just being an ass.
Well, there's the big thing with Nightwing going through the whole storyline that he's not, because he's put so much distance between him and the team and sees it as a business and not like as a family. He's not really thinking
maybe
straight.
that's where that's coming
So I think
from.
that's like
Okay.
the beginning of that. But also when he
Mhm.
says like someone else was supposed to be looking out for him, like Ollie is like the next panel. It appears as if he's like glaring directly at Jade. Implying that I think he's about to go off on her and Connor's like, you're not helping.
Yeah, Connor holds him back. Yeah,
Yeah, it's almost like Connor is like a better Green Arrow
Green Arrow. Yeah,
than Green
it's
Arrow.
it's almost as if Ollie shouldn't have been brought back to life, and they should have
Mhm.
just let
Yeah.
Connor be Green Arrow.
That
But
being
that's not
said,
what happened.
Winnick's run on Green Arrow, Oliver Queen being brought back to life is a really good run on comics.
Winnick did that? I thought Kevin Smith did.
Winnick, huh?
Yeah, didn't Kevin Smith bring Ollie back?
No, he
to life?
started it, but he didn't stay around for long.
Ah,
I'm
okay.
saying like Winnick wrote further into the series.
it.
The slab. Let's get there. I don't know what to
Hmm.
say. There's villains. There's Brother Blood. They fight.
They fight, and then they have to make the
They fight.
choice of Simon is able to like unlock everyone's inhibitors, so the villains are all escaping the slab. And
Yeah, I think it's a pretty quick fight.
they have to decide either to fight and keep the villains from escaping, or they have to stop Brother Blood's plan and save the babies. And they choose to save the babies.
babies.
So all the villains are freed.
I mean, that decision is made with some dramatic timing. And like, you know, it
Yeah.
does feel like the stakes are real for that brief moment of like, but they're all escaping. Jade's like that close to leaving. And then like, Dick's like, let them go. And she's like, what? You know, kind of thing. And he's like, it's that or a million infants are kidnapped from their families all over the globe. And she's like, fuck, I'm on my way. And I like the pause of storytelling. It's a silent panel. Her facial expression says everything. And then she races back in there to like help Indigo go blow up the satellite, the global positioning satellite. This futuristic technology.
One thing that this issue also highlighted, that this happened before too, but it's a weird, it feels like a strange power mix in the team, because like Jade and Indigo and Metamorpho are like A tier, actually super powerful people. And then the rest, the other four people on the team are just kind of like, we punch things people.
Well,
It's just, it feels like a weird mix. I don't know. It's just a weird mix of.
Would you say that for Batman being on the same team as Superman and Wonder Woman?
But that's one. Like Batman is one, and then the rest all have. This is like a weird. I don't know. It just feels.
I don't
strange
know. Grace is strong.
She's strong, but I don't know. I feel like Indigo, Jade, and Metamorpho are kind of like
she
another
is just a
level
bouncer.
of like
she is a
what we
weird
can
pull for the team.
achieve with our powers, and the rest are just sort of.
If you're taking it like Marvel style with the mutants, it's like Omega level and Alpha level. Like, yeah, Jade. I mean, Indigo and Shift are like A level. I feel like Jade is probably fluctuates between A and B, because I don't know how like powerful her constructs are actually. But yeah, Grace and Thunder are like enhanced punchers, and then Nightwing and Arsenal are like base punchers.
Well, Arsenal's even a level below. He's like a Omega mutant, or whatever the lowest mutant is. He's the lowest.
He's the lowest possible mutant.
But I think the team has like a pretty diverse like range.
You know, like Jubilee can just shoot fireworks out of her fingers. She's kind of useless. That's Roy.
That's kind of what Roy is to this team.
Nightwing is like Cyclops.
Yeah. I guess. I don't know. It just feel I don't know. I just feel like those three are kind of like a different tier of, we can just do like insane shit.
Indigo is like,
I mean, Rex certainly is. I mean, Shift certainly is.
Yeah. And Indigo is like a all-powerful future android who can do a lot. I mean, she's
why doesn't she just you know what, they constantly use her battery levels as like a default of like, oh, I can't do everything all the time. But that seems kind of like, I don't know. 2000. It's what, several millennia in the future, 2000-ish years.
Well, also she was reprogrammed by.
She
Roy,
doesn't have
so
an Iron Man arc reactor in there, just powering infinite energy. She can't just pull energy out of the air. Like what? She needs to go home and plug in. Like really?
I would just
years from now?
say she was reprogrammed by Roy, so he probably fucks up. She's not as good as she should.
He probably did. Yeah, she sucks now. Yeah, you're right.
It's probably screwed something up.
So Brother Blood in the melee also escapes because again it explodes.
Yeah.
And then he gets murdered by his son on the plane, and then he moves on to the Teen Titans, which is actually kind of cool.
Yes, that's what I was saying in my intro with this book and Teen Titans. Like that happens in like the next issue, like issue 7, I think, on Teen Titans.
And Teen Titans is Brother Blood, yeah, which is kind of cool. Yeah, it's kind of neat. So if you read Outsiders, because of Graduation Day, these books launched simultaneously, and if you read them concurrently with each other, like they interacted in an interesting way where like not necessarily they were like talking to each other all the time, but like their storylines matched up in a specific way with like Brother Blood, and later on with like don't they cross over with the Lex Superboy clone storyline a little bit? Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's something else.
Yeah. Well, the Lex Superboy thing happens at the same time as Indigo turning into Brainiac.
Yeah, that's it.
A big crossover. That's a great crossover. Those fights are great.
Yeah.
Maybe we next year we'll revisit Outsiders and Teen Titans and read the crossover.
We should have done that.
We should do that. It'll be fun.
So at the end, we get a big plot twist that first of all, the real Metamorpho, a bit of a short king.
Yeah, he's a little shorter. Yeah.
Compared to Shift, he's a little short king. Shift is bigger. But so the real Metamorpho
he's still like
shows up.
6 feet tall, though, you know.
Well, I'm speaking relatively compared to Shift. But he shows up and he's like, Shift is...
He's not Metamorpho, I am.
I am.
As you can see by my classic Metamorpho costume.
Issue 7 is maybe one of my favorite issues of the entire run of Outsiders. I think this
it's great.
Really kind of shifts and no pun intended.
Pun intended. Oh, yeah. I was going to say
even like
intended. There we go.
It shifts. It shifts.
God damn it. At least I wasn't talking that time.
Even starting with the issue to number 7, because I think I got into Outsiders. I think the first 6 issues are already out, so I bought all of them and read them all at the same time. And this was the first one that came out to add to my collection. I remember the cover is just like Shift in a fetal position in a dark room, and it says, "Who am I?" And his body's like all like, it's like he has no control over his skin. It's all like darting out and covering the room. It's terrifying.
It's
this
a good
issue
cover. I did not.
So this issue is called Oedipus Rex. Does anybody know why? Is it just because of the name Rex? Because it has nothing to do with Oedipus, right?
Oedipus wanted to kill his father
and married his mom. And this has nothing to do with either of those things, right?
I mean, I guess it's just like a weird father-son thing happening. Rex.
Weird father-son thing doesn't have to be Oedipus killing the father.
Yeah, but I think Oedipus Rex.
You're talking to the wrong audience.
Rex, and that's like a comic book term by Namor. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, but Rex is Metamorpho's name.
Right. So I think.
Yeah. So I think did they just start from there and work backwards to like let's just do Oedipus Rex?
I think so.
Because Shift is never like, oh, I'm going to kill Rex and take his place.
It's actually the opposite.
And marry his wife.
Rex is the one that's like, I'm here to reabsorb.
All right, so specifically
so
for this issue, we really need to call Shift and Rex.
Yeah, but this is a reverse Oedipus Rex.
But Metamorpho is a complete dickball.
Well, he
comes in and immediately tries to, and he's like, really?
No, if you
don't want to take 5 seconds to be like, wait a minute, this guy might have fucking consciousness.
Joe, if you had a skin tag removed from your armpit and it became Joe 2, you'd probably be like, no, that's not okay.
Well, first of all, do I have the ability to reabsorb that skin tag?
Yes, let's say you do.
All right, so if I did, I would still take 5 minutes to talk to the other heroes that I'm aware of and know in the room, like Nightwing and Roy, before I was like immediately like, well, this is over. Time to suck you back into my body. I would take 5 minutes to be like, hey, what's going on here? This must be some sort of mistake. I don't understand what you are, but I'm willing to hear what the fuck you are. It just immediately went to like, well, time for this to over. This is over. I'm going to absorb you back into my body. And they're like, and Indigo's like, fuck you. Yeah. And I'm like, thank you, Indigo.
Another thing is Tom Raney
just like goes for it immediately. He's like, there's no time to talk. I'm here to kill this guy.
Yeah.
Like, what? Wait, what?
Just a quick Tom Raney note. He draws all the girls with this like supermodel, like pursed lip kind of runway look.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting. Yeah. They all have that like very angular.
Rex's lips are pretty on point.
No, his lips are like open. He's got his mouth open.
I love Shift's character design way more, but even the way he draws Metamorpho is pretty interesting. I enjoy how stark seeing them side by side is really
you don't. It's almost like you didn't fully appreciate how Shift was drawn until you saw him next to Metamorpho by Tom Raney specifically. Right. And then you see them both together and you're like, oh, wow, the difference is vast. And that's how interesting Tom Raney went with Metamorpho.
Right.
Yeah. And how regular Metamorpho would look drawn by Tom Raney. It's a really interesting
I like the contrast because real Rex is very smooth and put together and like looks very humanly very similar, and like the costume is like super
neat. It looks like a gray bald man in a costume. That's the key. Yeah. And Shift looks like is very amorphous. Yeah. He looks even like parts of his head like are floating off at all times.
And this is a random little tangent, but in this issue, this is a callback to our JLA #1 issue when Rex is just waking up from when he saves everyone from the satellite blowing up in that issue.
Yeah.
So this entire time he's been like comatose, and it's like a little flashback of him on Earth with like the stupid superheroes he saved from that stupid
He says,
satellite.
I had to do this thing. I turned into a craft. It was more of like a projectile. Everyone arrived on Earth in one piece, but it left me in a coma. And then I was like, what the fuck? Because Superman put you in a goddamn grave, and we mocked it and laughed about it on our episode. Because I remember you being dead, and then so I'm like, so you didn't die, and then what the fuck? Like you were fucking dead. They just kind of glossed over that.
No,
well, granted, he could have been like brought back before this, but I can't really remember. But like, here's the key. All throughout this, so he was dead in Justice League and died and was buried at like basically a pauper's grave because no one showed up to his funeral.
Yeah, and Superman
including
made a
the superheroes that he saved.
Yeah, and Superman made a backhanded comment like, "Oh,
yeah," he was like, "I remember more people being at my funeral. Yeah, remember people at my own funeral." That's an interesting comment. Anyway, I think it's so funny because like it goes back to all the instances throughout this comic specifically where Shift has done several things. Like he flew the Pequod at like 1,000,000 miles an hour into the slab and blew it open and just basically made himself into a projectile. And then afterwards he just like flew out of smoke and was like, whatever, killing, or I'm helping, I'm beating the bad guys. Way earlier, he did something similar where there was, what did he do? God damn it. Shifted the bomb went off and Shift was like, I'm fine. And thankfully Indigo put a force field around Jade. So they're both alive. So like the Brother Blood complex, he blew up 2 times in the Brother Blood storyline. And it just doesn't make any sense. Sorry.
Nothing makes sense.
A rant of what is Metamorpho's powers?
Well, another art note I want to make. In this issue particularly, everybody is on the Snyder Zoo scale. Like, look at Nightwing right here. The definition going on. Like, everybody is on the Snyder Zoo scale in this issue.
I'd like to call your attention to this picture right here to my right of Shift. That's from issue 1.
He's a big boy.
Look at that.
Yeah.
He's a little bit like Ultimate Hulk in that,
that's true. That's true. Nightwing, however.
Nightwing is just like the definition going on there is next level, yeah.
Joe, I think you're right about Rex Metamorpho being just a total piece of shit because he goes to absorb Shift and Indigo blasts him and is like, hey, he was about to just kill Shift. And then Metamorpho says, "Of course I was. That doppelganging sack of genetic crap is a part of me, and he's not Rex."
Yeah. I'm not saying confronting a clone of yourself would be normal and not unsettling, but remove your crazy ass emotions out of it for 5 seconds and try to recognize the fact that this man has clearly been existing for a while now and is at least acting as if he has consciousness.
Yeah.
So you should at least take the time to be like, maybe this is some weird offspring of my powers. And like, he's like, at best he's a clone. I'm like, that doesn't mean he's not a person. like later on, I mean, like, what the fuck? He's not like this fucking like robot that's just like, I am Metamorpho. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he has feelings. Anyway.
Well, and that's displayed perfectly by the artist here. What's his name? Rainey.
Tom Raney, yeah.
Because Tom Raney does a good job because Metamorpho's arguing with Jade, Thunder, and Grace about it, and then Nightwing interrupts them and just points to shit.
He's like, guys, can you look what just this argument is doing to the psychological well-being of our friend who is now curled up in a ball on the floor?
And it's kind of like he looks really tiny and the jeans are sagging off of him. Like he's literally shrunk. Like the art, I thought, especially with Shift, like did such a good job of conveying how traumatizing this revelation is.
Yeah.
And like,
he's like, I'm not real. I didn't know what, if I'm not me, who am I? You know, like he's freaking the fuck out.
Well, also when he completely loses his form and becomes this sort of like primordial goop of stuff is pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty interesting visually.
I love
because they take Rex aside to argue for a minute, and they're like, "Hey, can you just give us a minute to at least figure out what's going on?" And he's like, "Fine, blah blah blah." And then also Jade has this touching moment of being like, "Hey, you'd like him, by the way. He's amazing. He's a hero." And he's like, "Okay." And then Thunder runs in and is like, "He's flipping out. Hey, he's all over the place. I don't know what to do," you know, kind of thing. Nightwing makes him promise to not reabsorb him while attempting to help Shift.
Yeah.
And I particularly like that point. But then also, after he dives into Shift and starts to try to help, they're like, are we sure he's not just going to absorb him? And Nightwing's like, no, we're not. I don't know. Like, I don't trust him.
Yeah.
Like, he's basically like, I hope, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah, he says, but we can hope, right? That we can do that. And so Metamorpho, right, he jumps into the Shift goop, and they kind of have an elemental battle.
Yeah, which is kind of cool. I do like at a point that it gets so big that they're like, we need to maybe evacuate. Like, hold on, and then you know, that it's a pretty cool issue. I mean, I
thought it was a great issue.
Yeah.
And then you know Rex and Shift have a little heart-to-heart in Prospect Park. It's like it's a good little end to it. Yeah,
yeah, it is actually. And you know, it's funny. Like Rex says to Shift, like, "Do you remember our parents?" And he's like, "Kind of, but I don't remember what happened to them." And he's like, "Oh, they died."
He's like, they're dead.
Like, oh
God, they died.
And he's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I didn't mean to like dump that news on you. I don't know. I'm still trying to like come to terms with how to even reveal information to you, you know, kind of thing." Because a lot of his memories are obviously from Rex, you know. I don't know. This issue in and of itself makes this run worth reading to me, you know, like kind of thing. Like this is exactly what I'm talking about in terms of like why I liked this book. It was like insane with some storylines, and then it would just get grounded in these moments. You'd have these times. I talk about Legion of Superheroes a lot with this aspect of terms of like they take time to give a breath of fresh air in between giant battles and stuff. And like the first 6 issues of this are fucking batshit insane. And then you had issue 7 and it was like totally grounded in this like super emotional, like who am I issue of like what Rex is and who Shift is. And it just kind of grounds the whole series for me. And that continues on, if I'm not mistaken. They'll be like little breaths of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything we do in this issue doesn't matter because in 30 issues, Rex reabsorbs Shift. And
man,
that is true.
What a fucking fucked up thing. I mean,
that is true.
It happened off camera. Like you don't even get to see it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just 1 year later and Shift is gone, and he's just fucking gone. He let Rex. Oh man,
Yeah, it's weird.
Character. What a waste. Both him and Indigo. What a waste.
What happens to Indigo?
She dies, right?
She takes. It's really sad. She takes over the Brainiac 8, so she comes back and she's suppressing Brainiac 8, and Shift has her, and she's like, "I can only hold her for like 10 more seconds. You have to do something." And Shift basically turns all of her inorganic material into like living flesh, and it's fucked up because someone comes up to him like, "What did you do?" And he's like, "I made her real, but I couldn't make her alive," or something like that. He's like, "I made her," because I think she always wanted to be real. Like she wanted to be a real organic.
I want to be a real boy.
Yeah, and it's sad because Indigo is a separate thing, right? She's like him, but like still stuck inside of her Metamorpho. She's a separate personality, but those two great characters that were just
well, also even
just written off.
Yep.
Well, the thing too is even in this early run, the two of them have a real strong connection that's like described and developed throughout. But then again, they're both just differently written out of.
Yeah, they have a strong bond, but you don't want to hear about that here.
You don't. It's gross.
Yeah.
Well, there is a funny issue when they.
Well, do you think the two of them actually have a strong bond, or did Shift gas her up?
Well, she's a robot.
I mean, probably
if that would have worked.
Because we know that he does.
I mean, do endorphins matter to her?
That's such a fucked up joke. It's such a fucked up joke.
Again, if you view it through your gross, dark, cynical lens, Al,
I don't know. It feels dirty. It feels dirty. Yeah. Do you guys hear that? Pat, I know you have those new AirPods Pro, Patrick.
Do you actually hear it?
Are they noise canceling? But do you hear that coming in from the? Does this pass the Bechtel test?
The Bechtel
test. The Bechtel test. Does this pass the Bechtel test? The answer is probably no. But this does.
But it does. Yeah,
it does. Earlier we talked about the scene where Gracie and Thunder talk to each other top a plane. Like that's passes it.
Well, that's number one. There's a few others, I think, but they are talking about men. I think I don't know that one specifically. The catching the plane.
That one they're not talking about men. Like they're talking about they're
talking to each other. They're talking about how their powers work.
I think they do mention Thunder's dad.
But I don't think that is. I think the Bechtel test is like the romantic lead or the protagonist.
Yeah, okay. They don't do that. They're not talking about any romantic lead. They're just talking about saving people.
There's also that moment later on when, and me and Patty had mentioned it, but there's a moment later on when they're talking to each other, and Grace is talking to Jade again, Grace is talking to Thunder. I'm sorry, and then they say something like, "Oh, well, I think you're really good at being a superhero." Blah 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 blah. You know, like kind of like they're just having a discussion about being superheroes together, and she's like, "Oh, I think you do a really good job," and she's like, "Oh, I didn't think you gave a shit." But like they have a genuine conversation that has nothing to do with anything else.
No, there's a few. I mean, this again, it could always do better.
Also, women heavy stacked team. I think Judd Winick is. For 2003, doing a good job. You know,
no, he's doing okay. He
could always do better. Yeah, doing a great job.
And they're definitely still like hyper sexualized.
Yeah,
but I mean, so is Nightwing's crotch.
Like.
But no, it's true. Like the dudes are also like on display. Like everyone is on display physically.
They're covered up though, you know. I think you have a point when you say it'd be fun to see Nightwing in a costume with no back on it, and it's to just show how like fucking insane. Yeah. I would feel.
Let's put it this way: Nightwing wasn't wearing a towel in any of the scenes.
Yeah, that's true. There was no scene of just or like if Roy was like Gracie.
That would have actually made that scene make so much more sense if like one of the other characters was also in a towel after having been on that mission.
Right.
Well, she's also very free with her body.
But like if Roy was wearing like Gracie, just like a tank top and pants and stuff like that would be.
Al, you picked out this panel of Nightwing for specifically, but
he's doing a backwards flip kick. That's pretty clear.
Well, it's just also his crotch is right in your face.
So, yeah, Taint City.
Yellow Jacket style. Maybe this was an homage to Yellow Jacket Avengers Forever.
Yeah.
I mean, look how crazy his legs look, though. What's how
he's doing?
I don't know. I don't know. Is it a back flip? Is he flipping around and kicking him with the other foot too? I don't know what's happening right there.
I don't know.
All right. Anyway, it does pass the Bechdel test. Judd, you could always do better, but it passes. Good work.
Yeah, and Snyder's Zoo scale, I guess Nightwing for that one panel.
Everyone's on this, and even the girls are on. They're like, everyone's got a perfect body.
Crisscross drawing Grace specifically in like a few panels where she's just standing there. She looks pretty stacked. She's like at least a 4.
She's pretty.
Tom Raney drawing Nightwing, I would maybe a 5. He looks jacked. He's jacked
because he doesn't have the mass really, but he's still pretty. And he's a 5. 5 sounds fair for Nightwing.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's recommendations, boys? Time for recommendations.
No. Yeah. Don't read this. No.
It's so funny because throughout this entire thing, you've been like, I don't like it, but you've been saying so many positive things the whole time.
Yeah. But I wouldn't like if somebody was like, oh, I want to read a comic, I would never be like, oh, check out Outsiders from 2003. Like, I would never say that to anybody.
If someone was like a fan of Nightwing or like a Bat Family fan, I would be like,
doesn't do shit, and he's just like,
are you kidding? He's awesome.
He doesn't do shit. He flips around while Roy's talking at him. That's what he does.
What do you want him to do? He can't shine on a team book. He's the leader.
If someone came to me and was like, I love Gracie, Thunder, and Shift, recommend to me a comic where they're good in it, I'd be like, sure, read this. Otherwise, don't read this comic.
I disagree. So my overall take, or not overall takes, but my recommendations is do read this. It's from this era of comics, this is one of the only ones that we've read recently that I actually still like. And I know it's got a lot of ridiculousness in it, but like the fact that, as me and Patty kind of discussed, it ties in with Teen Titans. Like if you read them concurrently, it's so fun to like watch the birth of these two teams and where they go and like what they're doing, and then see how they cross over throughout those books. And this was a fun Teen Titans Outsiders era of comics for me. And I thought Judd Winick did a good job, man. And I think it gets better. And that's the thing that's even not, I don't know about surprising, because the first 6 issues are crazy. But if issue 7 speaks to the rest of what's to come, like it ties you back down into like emotional like storylines that matter and make sense. Like this it's a fun group of characters for a team book, and they have a good concept going into it, and I think they achieve that concept, at least superficially at first, and I think it gets better as it goes. It's a good book.
I mean, definitely once America's Most Wanted's John Walsh joins the team, that's pretty much peak comic books right there.
That's to come later. Anyway, I recommend it.
So I'm a little bit on the page with Al, where if it was like a new reader to comics, or if someone asked me right now, like something that I've read recently that I'd recommend, this wouldn't be like on my top 10 list of things to say. That being said, I loved this comic back in 2003, and I still love it now. And if someone were to ask me, like, what are my top 10 like favorite comics of all time, it's definitely in my top 10. And I think issue 7 is a good shift, no pun intended, into the more, you get to that vibe where the team is growing up as a team and making bonds. And I think the first 6 issues, I've said it a few times now, the character work and the dialogue and those beats between the characters, I buy that Nightwing and Arsenal are longtime friends. Yeah. And even after that, he pairs off, Shift and Indigo have this whole thing where Indigo she's only been alive for like 3 months, and so has Shift. And they're like new people, and they're learning stuff about it. And like, so they have this weird bond. And then Grace and Thunder are both kind of like new to the superhero world in general. And they are kind of getting their own special bond. So all the character work is great. I loved all the character stuff. The stuff they're doing in the first 6 issues, the actual storyline and plot is fucking like bananas. I forgot
Batshit
how
crazy. Yeah.
it is. But I will say, like, after issue 7, they deal with Sabak, and Captain Marvel Jr. is a guest star, and like that 4 issues or so was like great. It got like into the demons and shit like that. It's a more cohesive story, and like I think Sabak burns Grace's face off, and it's like it turns out she is super healing or whatever, but it gets better. So would I recommend it if someone to randomly say, what do you recommend right now? But if someone to specifically say, do you recommend The Outsiders from 2003? I'd be like, yeah, man, it's fucking, if you've heard of it. Yeah. Great.
So yes and a no.
So yeah. So it depends on how you do recommendations. If you're saying recommend something to me, this wouldn't be on the top of my list. But if you were to ask me what my favorite comic books were, this would be on that list. So take that for whatever you want to say it's worth. I don't know.
So it's a
I guess overall it's a no.
yes and a no. Oh, okay.
It's a no, but I love the comic. Like, if we're going to break it down into do you recommend it?
Well, you got to say yes or no, Patty. That's how the system works.
Fuck, you know what? I love it too much. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes because I love it. And it's just not.
Yes, no. Yes, no, yes, no, 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 yes is the answer.
I'm going to say yes because out of respect, I'll say yes. Yes.
All right, boys. I think we did it. All
right. Good journey, everyone. Good journey.
Goodbye, everybody.
Outside.
You're not going to say goodbye, Al?
No, because you're going to play that fucking thing over me.
What?
As soon as I say like good journey, you're going to be like.
Wait, first of all, good journey is Patty's out.
Or whatever.
That's his like, sign off.
Okay, if I'll say whatever, catch you next time, it's good. You're going to do the little thing over me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, goodbye, everyone.
There you go. That's all I was looking for. Just a goodbye.